welcome to our first fashion talk. The future of fashion is Phygital. What Phygital means that we will hear from our guests later on. First, I'm going to introduce them to you. In the studio tonight, we have Esther Hammelburg, an expert on live experiences in hybrid events and senior lecturer at the Amsterdam University of Applied Science. Then we have Shayli Harrison, a speculative fashion designer and CEO of digital fashion unit Mutani, and Verkade of the independent magazine Platform Current Obsession. Welcome you all. Esther, Shayli, Frank, I'm so happy to have you here. Tonight we are talking about the digitalization of fashion events and about hybrid presentation forms. Before we start and dive deeper into the subject, can you all tell us a little bit about your work? I'm going to start with you, Esther.
Yeah, sure. Well, as a researcher, I'm mainly interested in the influence of digitalization to how we experience and connect to events. So I have done research in the past years into live experiences, how we experience live, and seen that actually the digital or the mediated always plays a role in our live experiences. So we do not have any live experiences anymore without media or the digital.
That is so interesting. What about you, Shayli?
Hey, I am a traditional fashion designer. I went to the Antwerp fashion department, and I started working around creating digital narratives and experiences in digital fashion. And through these projects that I did, I formed the company called Mutani, where we're now working with traditional fashion designers with a really radical artistic aesthetic and bringing their work into game spaces and virtual environments so that players, game developers, and audiences can enjoy their fashion in a more immersive way.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Frank, who are you? What do you do?
Well, first of all, Current Obsession, it's an online platform magazine on contemporary jewelry and adornment. And I've joined the team 2 years ago now to focus on talent development, so really focusing on connecting young talent to the industry. So we just wrapped up our talent development program, Gen Z, really focusing on the new, unique view of Generation Z on the contemporary jewelry medium.
Interesting. So my first question when I saw what we were going to talk about is, what is Phygital? What does that mean? Esther?
Well, you could say I'm the expert in the sense that I'm the researcher, but I hadn't ever heard of the term the Phygital. So, but I hear it's something in fashion mainly.
Yeah.
But I think mainly the combination of the digital and the physical.
The physical.
Yeah.
So interesting. Have you heard of that term before?
I knew the term, but just to be sure, I Googled it just before I went live. I think it's the combination of two words, physical and digital.
Yeah.
After Googling it, I knew it's about concepts that use technology to bridge the physical and the digital. So apparently that's Phygital.
Ah, interesting. So Shayli, you studied fashion design in Antwerp and now are the founder of Mutani. I said it wrong before, Mutani, but it's
Everybody
Mutani.
does.
Can you tell me more about the brand and what made you switch to digital fashion, to the game space?
Well, I guess it started when, as designers in the Antwerp fashion department, we're built up almost as artists. We create work that's really radical and very creative, and it doesn't necessarily have a right place within the commercial fashion atmosphere. A lot of these amazing talents are ending up in 5 internships or more, or maybe they are hired and have to suppress their creative energy. Mm-hmm. So we want to provide a way in which designers can have new revenue streams and new spaces for creative expression, and that we believe is through games, because you have the freedom to create without the boundaries of reality and physics and I guess trends and the traditional fashion scope. So we want to be able to regenerate creativity in this way and provide new income streams to designers so that they can start up their own brands and keep being creative in fashion.
Yeah. Is that something you recognize, not in fashion, but the jewelry context?
I do. I think also especially the contemporary jewelry field is a rather small field. Mm-hmm. So also, for example, reason for us to do this program was to create community. It's quite of a buzzword, but I think it's really important, especially in times of a pandemic. Mm-hmm. And it's indeed a rapidly changing market, and what we see, which you also really enjoy, that you see young makers who really take their power into their own hands and start to represent their own brands, start selling, and some of them do it independently, others connect to professionals. But in my opinion, it's a great move into the digital where they really, take it up on themselves to promote and sell.
Yeah, yeah. Esther, because you are an expert on live experiences in hybrid events such as FASHIONCLASH this year, we are very curious how, with effective use of media, we can create a more positive impact with fashion events. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Well, I think the main thing is to understand that every live experience is a unique experience. And what often happens is that we tend to redo online what we were used to doing offline, and I think that is one of the main mistakes. We have to explore these worlds.
Yeah.
So everything we do nowadays is both in the physical and the digital, and you can go either more physical or more digital, or but take these different environments into account when you design events. And then, of course, then there are loads of possibilities to stretch. I think live experiences are a combination of a certain place, time, and social context, and all these three are made in with media. So you can expand the social context, you can incorporate more people, you can have people own space in the event, write themselves into the event instead of only watching. So you can involve your audience in new ways, for instance.
Yeah. So that says a lot about increasing more inclusive participation, which is obviously lacking in the real world, right? Is that something you recognize?
Definitely. You find that in the digital fashion space, because you don't need to have physical materials and you don't need to have a large amount of capital to start. You just need to have the programs. So you find that a lot of the creators in the space that are native to digital fashion, as we say, are coming from places like Africa, India, Poland, across the world, places where we wouldn't normally see their fashion broadcast on an international scale. So it's really nice to be able to explore the different cultures and ways of expressing fashion in digital.
That's amazing. So basically you're saying you can create a world in your greatest imagination and include anything you want, right?
And everyone you want.
And everyone you want, of course. Yeah. Is that something that sounds familiar for you?
It does, and also what I like about it, it's a more direct dialogue that you can have. Like we've also been working with museums, and even though I love what museums do, they do need more time to maybe get certain really urgent topics into their museums. And what I love about the digital, a way more direct way of conversating and also showing different voices. So it's definitely something I recognize.
Yeah. And Shayli, maybe it sounds like an obvious question, but what are your thoughts on the future of digitalization in fashion?
I think it's happening already. You see the larger brands coming in. But at this point, they're not recognizing that the audience has changed. If you're working digital, you need to appeal to game players and game developers and a different set of rules, let's say. So I see that being a really great space for really incredible creative talent to come in and show their true colors and kind of have these new streams and new ways of expression. I think that in the future, it will become a part of every, if not all brands. Yeah.
But what do you think brands and designers need to come in contact with people that can create those digital spaces? Because it's a whole different, context. And, if you're so focused on designing clothes, it could be hard to find those people and even imagine a greater world. A digital world, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's only been accessible to these large brands at this point, because they have the money to outsource it.
Yeah.
And that's why we started this venture, is because it should be a space that young designers can come into and independent designers who don't have the capital to lay down. So that's why we are developing collaborative efforts. And that collaboration is a really important part of this space. Knowing that you can't do everything and knowing that you don't have to sit on a computer all day, you just have to be able to connect yourself with the right people.
Yeah. I see you both nodding your head. Something you want to add to that? Or?
I'm interested in that connection, because I can imagine that, of course, this fashion world is also built on networks, and these networks differ online, I guess. Is it a new way also for finding your maybe niche interests or others to cooperate with?
Yeah, I think there's just a language barrier, when you're working in this highly technical level, and you're coming from this artistic fashion industry,
Yeah.
there's a huge gap in understanding what's involved, especially from the fashion end. We're not aware that it's not just a click of the button and then it could take hours and hours could take days to render the piece. And if you change your mind, it might take another week. So fashion's used to moving so fast. And I don't see a lot of people in fashion recognizing the amount of skill in the technological aspects. So there has to be a way to learn to communicate between those two ends.
I also think it's not just the industry, but also I think there's a lot of opportunities still within education. I think what I think is really beautiful about younger generations that collaborating comes way more natural to them. It's less about ego and less about something as a collaborative effort you really love.
Yeah.
But I think it's also up to education to sort of meet their expectations and their needs as well in that sense. So I think there's a lot of potential there still.
Yeah. And are you then thinking about fashion academies, maybe jewelry studies, or also the tech side of it?
I think actually both. I think what's really specific about both fashion and jewelry is that they are within their own bubble, and it's really time to reach out, especially from a jewelry perspective. I can say it's really important to bridge, because I think sort of on the fringes of jewelry there are so many things happening that are really, really interesting. So just to come together and work interdisciplinary, I think is really important.
Yeah. And Frank, you also have a festival called Obsessed, which is taking place right now, actually.
Exactly, yeah.
And can you tell us about your use of media and digitalization within the festival?
Definitely. We changed it. It's a biannual festival. What we do, we program jewelry-related events throughout Holland and Belgium to celebrate both jewelry in all forms and its makers. And obviously, pandemic happened. Luckily, we were able to do some live events still. So we've done open studios, some lectures at, for example, Rijks and Stedelijk. But we also knew already, okay, we need to do something hybrid. So we did this year is that we shot 20 interviews with either established names or up-and-coming artists to really give sort of a broad view of what contemporary jewelry in adornment could be. So that's the start we programmed, and something which is not maybe within the festival, but something we did last year, is we did publish something, and this was something I want to note. I love the digital, but also I think that you can really feel people are hungry for something physical. So I think for us, publishing is also still something we really want to stay close to as well.
Yeah. I think that's very important too. And I think that you already kind of mentioned one of like the challenges of doing everything digital is like or hunger for connection. Are there any more like challenges or maybe actual benefits that you can tell us about? Maybe you too, Shayli?
Yeah, actually we're releasing a Phygital piece on the 3rd of December on a digital fashion marketplace called The Dematerialized. We've collaborated with a really amazing activewear designer called Stefan Karchev. And so he's produced some physical pieces that we've replicated in digital, so that then the buyer will buy the digital piece and also receive the physical piece. And we find it's one of the most intuitive ways that we can bring an audience into the digital space. And it works quite well that way. It's something that's been really experimented with in this area at the moment.
Yeah, and I think also this digitalization also changes our experience of the physical, right? So it's not that it replaces the physical. It's not that we now have a digital world and we can forget everything that is physical. We are just experiencing the world in a different way. We have this other environment that is attached to us also, always. So also what I notice is that sometimes people really deliberately turn off their phones or go into a physical space because they want to detach themselves from the digital. So the physical becomes more intense in some way, also because of our digital experiences.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are afraid that like the digital is taking over, right? That we're all stuck to our phones.
It's everywhere.
Like even with the coming of the metaverse, you know, people were like, oh my God, I don't want this to happen, but we're already there, indeed.
We're already there.
And Esther, in December, you will defend your dissertation, very exciting. And it's titled Being Their Life, How Liveness is Realized Through Media Use at Contemporary Cultural Events. Can you tell us more about your research?
Yes, I've done a PhD research around 3 large events: Oerol Festival in the Netherlands, Pride in Amsterdam, and Serious Request, which is a large media event in the Netherlands. And I have interviewed nearly 380 people and analyzed about 15,000 social media mainly images,
Wow.
posts. And to see how people have this feeling of being now here together. So that really that experience of being there live, how that comes about with media. And there also, I mean, you see people being somewhere physically and saying, oh, it's so nice to be here for real. But then that for real is also formed by a former experience through media, right?
Ah, yeah.
So even our physical experiences in a place are very often formed by what we have experienced online or on TV. And the other way around, when someone is there physical, they want to experience that also in the digital spaces. So they want to share that. When you're an avid Instagram user,
Of course,
have you been there if you haven't shared it on Instagram?
Yeah. And is that something people actually realize, that it's so like intertwined?
It's really difficult to speak to people about it because we are not so conscious of it most of the time.
Yeah.
We just do it. It's sort of in our routines. And this digitalization has been happening. It's all around us. But what I have done, for instance, is just speak to people who are, for instance, making a photograph in an event in the place and just saying, hey, I see you make a photo. Can you tell me something about this?
Yeah.
And then you learn a lot about people say, I need to photograph this to remember it, or I need to photograph it to send it to my friend who also has been here and knows what I'm experiencing. So I can experience it together with that person. Or you hear a lot about how it extends and sometimes also impairs our experience in these events.
That is so interesting, because right now I'm taking pictures of things with like the idea behind it that I'm going to print them and actually like put them in an album, because I want it to be my kids or maybe my sister have like a photo album to be really physical, but it's going through like a digital process while doing that. So that's really strange, actually. That's a realization I'm having right now. Anyway, so the question to you all, is the future of fashion phygital? We're in a pandemic now, like we're looking for ways to still present our work, but is this going to stay like this?
Yes.
I'm looking at all of you.
Yes.
I think that the future of everything is phygital, if you would like, or hybrid. It depends which term you prefer. But I think we're all living in a world that is, our physical experiences are extended by the digital or the mediated, and that goes for everything we experience.
Frank?
I would say I completely agree. I think there's so much potential in digital. However, I also want to note, especially when it comes to the fashion discipline, it cannot be a reason to sort of shut our eyes for what's happening IRL. So I think there are many, many challenges still. So I think that's balance is really important between the two.
Yeah, because my next question was going to be like, is there a point where it will be going too far?
Well, I think it takes a role in every. I was listening to you speaking about education. I think for each education, in which field, whatever, the digital and the media, in the beginning, media was a separate schooling, right? I think now it's part of everything. Every company, every school, needs to look at it. And I don't know if I believe in too far in general. I think things just change, and we should be aware of the changes that are going on, so we can shape them in a way that we like, and we can make decisions on it, and not be surprised when some companies take over our digital spaces.
Thank you. I think that's a great ending note. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you everyone at home for watching. Our second fashion talk will be coming right up. But first, we are tuning into our second broadcasting of Digital Dive, in which we talk to designers My Art by Johanesly and She Keeps Her Shears Sharp. Make sure you check it out if you're in Maastricht. Let's watch the Digital Dive. Enjoy.
Hello everybody!
And welcome to the second day of the Digital Dive.
What is the Digital Dive?
We already explained that yesterday.
Yes, I know, but for the viewers who are perhaps just joining us today.
Okay, true. Ask me again.
Okay, what is the Digital Dive?
I'm glad you asked. During FASHIONCLASH Festival, we are diving deeper into the artists who created an individual event, pop-up shops, performances, and much more.
Wow, that sounds exciting.
It sure does, and we are your hosts,
Lore
and Nanine.
And I think it's time to dive right in. All right, let's go.
are now inside the brandweer, where there's a space for many individual events, and we will go to our first one now and meet Johannes, who designed some beautiful pieces. So let's go.
I'm Johannes. I'm textile and print designer based in Switzerland.
Nice, and you're still studying, right?
Yeah, this year it's my graduate year. That's why I want to present my graduate collection.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit more about the inspiration for this collection?
This inspiration actually is the volcanoes in Indonesia. I would like to transforming the effect of the volcano into my fabrics, especially the colorfulness, structure, and then the kind of feeling that I would like to show the people how I get really close to the volcano effect.
Nice, nice. You can really see it. It's like it has a powerful look, what you designed. Yeah, cool. Okay, another question. You've created these pieces with a very high respect for nature. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, I do really respect for nature because I developed the processing technique that leave very little environment harmful residue, allow for more ecological and value creation.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
That's a very nice goal to create like that. I have another question about that. How do you decide which techniques you use for the materials to not create so much waste?
First is my design research is experimental for the kind of like textile from what I use from the yarn, mostly from the yarn fabric.
Yeah.
That is this is yarn fabric that I collect from the upcycling, from the off-cut that I use for my work, and then I try to experiment how it work with different kind of technique.
Yeah.
That's what I inspired from the ikat technique, from the old technique to get the new material to new what you call result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And this is a bit of the process.
Yeah.
How you work.
Yeah. And also the interesting thing that I use the really eco-plastic.
Yeah.
This eco-plastic really helped me for my works, especially to get more balance, which helped me really a lot from this project, because this eco-plastic that you can use, and then when you wash it, that's really in water disappeared. Yeah,
okay.
it's like
dissolves.
water salt films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, wow,
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Nice material. Okay, another question. Are there perhaps collaborations planned in the future, or things that we can look out for?
Oh yes, I do love to collaborate with other artists or the designer. That's for me is also my plan in the future, that I would like to collaborate with the people who like to work with me also for any project.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So future designers, look out for Johannes.
I would like to show the viewers about the process, how I made this kind of fabric. My collection is about the ecological or the environmentally. That's really for me is very important for my design. You can see, guys, that here I use this eco-plastic, this water solute film that I put in the top of the fabric, and then of course I is with the some kind effect to give some effect of the eruption and structure
Of a volcano.
yeah, for the volcano.
Nice. And this dissolves. This is
Yeah,
the dissolving.
exactly. That's from when you put in the water or when you wash, you can see the effect that the water is the plastic will melt it.
Dissolve.
Will disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. I also like the shimmery,
Yeah,
that it glitters.
I use different kind of yarn fabric
Yeah.
because I use what I have at home. I just put it.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And you work a lot with glitter, right? Or with
glitter. Yeah.
Because you think like glitter is something
to get some more feeling of this brightness, the shining from the eruption. Yeah.
nice.
Actually, I designed this kind of collection. It's like genderless. That I don't want to create exactly for women or for men, but this collection I create for also for women and for men. That's in one pieces. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, also with the hair color, right?
Yeah.
It's the nice.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna walk away with
Oh,
this.
give you
gonna
warm.
keep
If you
it,
give
yeah.
you warm, it's exactly the good
For this weather.
For this winter.
Yeah. Wow. It's also very soft on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And also not so heavy, but people think that it's heavy. It's not heavy. Yeah, because I really try to give some feeling that the people more warm, but not give the feeling of the what you call
Yeah, I really, it's like very soft material, and still you feel like, okay, I can walk here a whole day without that I feel like, oh my god.
Yeah, also it's like wearable pieces, you know, that you can wear, of course.
Yeah. Well,
Cool. I love it.
Turn back.
Yeah.
is there anything you would like to say to our lovely viewers at home?
Oh yes, please come visit us in this event, this really amazing event that you can guys really find a good designer, artists, creative people, of course, exciting atmosphere.
Yeah, nice. Thank you very much. It was lovely to meet you and your work. I really think it looks very cool, and I also really like the reasoning behind it, and that you use so many good materials, and that it's good for nature, what you're doing. And definitely go visit Johannes and meet him.
Okay, we are now about to meet two designers who created a collaboration, and we are very curious and excited to meet them. Follow us.
And could you maybe tell us and the viewers at home a bit more about yourselves?
I'm Mika Perlmutter, and I'm a designer and artist, or fashion designer and artist.
I'm Leila Verheus, and I'm a graphic designer and fashion designer.
And together you are She Keeps Her Shears Sharp.
Exactly.
Okay, nice. Nice to meet you. Are you ready for us to ask you some questions?
Sure.
Yeah? Cool. Okay. All right. You are a designer duo. How did this duo happen? How did you two meet each other?
We met in art school. We went to the same academy, and then after that we started sharing a studio, and then very slowly and organically we actually started working together without a real idea of starting a collaboration, but it just happened very natural. Just really nice. Yeah.
And can I tell you where your name is from?
It comes from this idea of female crafts, and like women with scissors and women with tools who work with that, and to keep them sharp is really this like making it bold or making it a bit more aggressive than just the cutesy image of crafts. So She Keeps Her Shears Sharp is this kind of aggressive tone to crafts.
Yeah, and a bit empowering.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Okay, can I get another question? Yes. Your concept is very layered. It's a collection, a shop, and you're also doing repairs.
Yeah.
Why have you chosen to do all of these things together?
I think for us this collection is really, maybe not in a literal sense, or it is actually in a literal sense a collection that keeps growing and evolving. And during this period here, we are still working on our stuff. Like, it's not a finished product, and I don't think it will ever be finished.
Also, I think for us it's about re-evaluating the old and bring it back to life, and I think the repairs are a very essential part of that. That people can also bring in their clothes and kind of revive them, or make them something new and different.
Nice. So it's also from like a ecological, eco-friendly. I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. We are very curious to see the collection and everything. We now get a look of it. Could you perhaps show us a piece that is really something that you like or a special piece to you?
This is 2 pieces. I'm the obsessive crocheter.
Nice.
And Leila is the printer, and we're really working with this combination and kind of clash of these 2 very kind of contradicting aesthetics in a way that this is the crochet is something that's very old and a tradition that has been passed on for a long time and over generations, and then Leila works with these crochet symbols.
Yeah, nice.
Because they're very interesting to us, that they're also a visual description of how to make crochet. And you use the reflectives to kind of make it more speedy, or because this is very time consuming. So it's both, of course, a more quick approach to crafting, but it's also aesthetically something very different.
You're both wearing your own designs, and it's super cool to see that it really has a cool look to it. Also the crocheting and the designs, and I like the reflecting, and also with the lighting here, it looks very cool. Nice. Yeah, what are your future plans? Are there plans to create more concepts and work together as she keeps her shears sharp? Is there a future?
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll keep working. Actually, how we're working now, we're doing a lot of experiments and trying new printing techniques. And like I said before, the collection is not really, it's a literal collection of items that we collect throughout time. And I think we'll just keep adding and keep playing with all these items and prints and what we're so playful with what we do, I think, in printing and crochet.
Yeah. And what we also, I think, in terms of what the starting point is also always going to be the same, and it's going to evolve through the idea of exploring crafts and the history of crafts and finding ways to use them today and how to make them interesting for a large audience. It's not only, I think what's also really nice for us is the feedback we get from an older generation who recognize the craft, and that it's a very, I don't know, it's always kind of intimate when we talk to other women who crochet, but they're also very happy to see it in a new context, and at the same time a younger generation really like it because it has this very contemporary feel to it.
Cool. Okay, and I think we have one more question, and that is whether you want something to say to our lovely viewers at home.
Yeah, crochet. Also, with pandemic happening, it's a really nice way to spend your time and to make it keep it young and fresh and keep this tradition, or maybe not tradition, but craft going and alive. Right?
Yeah, and definitely come visit here and maybe bring something that's like a piece of clothing that you want repaired, because they can do it and make it super cool. So definitely come by.
You heard it, crochet. Welcome to our second fashion talk, Culture.Fashion. We are so glad you tuned in. Tonight we will be talking to Iris Ruisch. She's the Managing Director of Mode Foundation, and Sebastiaan Kramer, Managing Director and co-owner of fashion label Hullekes and manufacturing company Studio Rijn. He is also the Creative Director of Fashion and Design Festival Arnhem and also the Artistic Manager of Duurzame Mode O25. They are both active members of Culture.Fashion, and that is an open and value-driven network in the field of fashion and textile in the Netherlands. Iris and Sebastiaan, welcome. So Iris, let's start with you. Can you tell us and the lovely viewers at home, what is Culture.Fashion?
Yes, it's an initiative founded in 2018 by the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science. And they asked a variety of players in the industry and textile field, amongst them individuals, organizations, platforms, to investigate together what's needed for a future-proof circular economy for fashion in 2015. This is a big challenge. So we first talked a lot, briefed a lot together. And then actually we came up with a program. It's called Culture.Fashion. And now we are heading in phase 3, the third year. And we launched a website amongst, half year ago. And we do a big reach outside because the primary group, it started around 40 organizations. And now we are growing and growing. And this is really needed because we need an open-minded fashion collective, actually, a network in Holland, because it doesn't exist in this way. And I think it's really important, and it's really open, value driven. So we formulated the values together. That was also a challenge, but we managed. So
and what is your exact role?
With Mode, I am one of the partners who is doing the coordination for 2 working groups. We have a narrative working group and a media working group where I'm the coordinator for. We also have a mapping group. We have activities group on which FASHIONCLASH is the coordinator. Administration. Yeah, we have it divided in all working groups so that we can connect even more people. To do really a reach out.
Nice. Yeah. And Sebastiaan, you're also part of the network. What is your role in the Culture.Fashion network?
Yeah. Well, I'm in a couple of working groups, like Iris mentioned. So I'm in the media and narrative working group, and also in the mapping working group. So, and for that, for example, for the narrative working group, we are talking with lots of people from the industries, and which are doing something with the whole transition that's taking place. So, and we are talking with them to see what's their point of view, to make a most inclusive view on the fashion system and the way it's transferring right now. So,
yeah, and what are the benefits for you and your organization to be involved?
Well, I think the good thing about this network and how it all came together is that there's never before there were so many cultural organizations, platforms, designers, and so on actually talking to each other from all over the Netherlands and sharing their views on the system, on the future of the system. And well, that's something that's really important to do, to actually make a transition. There should be more collaboration and should be more talking with each other, and that's something really started actually also with one of the first events of the Culture.Fashion was in the City Hall of Arnhem. There came like many people from all of the Netherlands came to Arnhem to to talk and to share their narratives and their views. So
That's amazing, because there have been several attempts to connect fashion networks in the past. What makes the approach of Culture.Fashion different? Because you said it's kind of like the first time this happens, but so many people have tried already. How is this different?
I think it's different because there's no, well, as Iris said, it's all because of the working groups and so on. It's really so many different kind of organizations are involved already from the beginning.
Can you name a few? What kind of organizations should we think of?
FASHIONCLASH, Mode, Fashion and Design Festivals, State of Fashion, the ZAAK, what else?
OSCAM.
Yeah, exactly. So and also then that's very cool about this as well. It's like almost all educational platforms or educational schools in fashion are involved also, and that's so it's really coming together the industry, the cultural parts of fashion, and actually the education parts of fashion, and that's something that's really needed because the innovation is I think in all these aspects together. So
yeah. And what kind of experiences and needs are being shared in those network groups?
Yeah, well, actually, I think it's important that what we do with Culture.Fashion, that we facilitate the needs of the industry. So this can be either way on educational sessions, so certain topics which have the need to discuss together. So these kind of sessions we organize, but also when it comes to local smaller initiatives or local production. So there are several topics we try to facilitate, or we facilitate not only events, but actually the dialogue. That's what we facilitate, and I think this is a tremendous strength that we can do that together, and that we are like-minded. In a way, you know, it's like we formulated these values together, and every education partner or production partner or designer or brand who feels comfortable and relates towards our values is welcome. And in this sense, you have really an open-minded network. And it's not about creating another platform with an owner or anything like that. No, this is really a shared vision and a shared need.
Yeah. And is the dialogue also happening online? Like, do you have a sort of forum or something where people just can communicate with each other?
Yeah.
Well, the website is still developing in that way. It's not, in that sense, it's not there yet, but it will come more. But we are sharing a lot of the narratives via social media, and also online on the website, which we call the Voices. So in that way, they're shared. But there's also a possibility because of the mapping, which is still in development as well. But you can already see a starting of that. So you can really see what kind of organizations or people are there throughout the Netherlands and doing what kind of things in this industry.
Yeah.
So
And isn't it hard to keep people engaged in this?
Well, what we do, we share each other's events. We share each other's movements, actually. So not purely on social media and on the website. So it's like, but also by visiting each other's events, by reporting each other events. And I think this is really important, that there's a lot of fuss about Culture.Fashion and who's involved. So in that sense, we do it like, it goes like it's quite organic, actually. Yeah. And challenges are, I think, to really think about how can we further develop a network like this? What's needed for that? So this is really the phase we are in now, because we're growing. Okay, but what is the main aim? We do find each other, we do share each other's networks, events and activities, but how can we build upon the mapping, of course, what we do? So for instance, if I am a brand and I need a designer, or I need a new place to print my stuff or to produce, this is also via Culture.Fashion a way to find each other. So we also have the tools implemented in a website. So it's actually quite a program, and I think it's really important to have such a thing in Holland.
Yeah, I can imagine the added value of this. Let's talk about the current state of the Dutch fashion scene, because it seems like fashion organizations are finally putting their ego aside. Can you tell us more about how you feel about the current state of fashion in the Netherlands?
Wow, yeah.
You're laughing. It's a big question.
It's a really big question. But in what I see within this network is that indeed, like, the ego is getting away, and it's really showing, because people within the network are sharing their knowledge and also their problems, which is I think a good thing in this whole transition, because without knowing each other's problems, you can't actually innovate or whatsoever. So in that way, we are very open to each other, and I think that's a good thing in the fashion industry, in the worldwide fashion industry, but for this in the Netherlands.
Do you recognize that?
Yeah, indeed. And also collective thinking is not something we are really familiar with within fashion.
Yeah.
So it's all
within
islands
everything
and-
right now.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, good point. But no, specifically, I think for the fashion industry, and we both walk along quite a long time. We really see it as a necessity to do this and to really collaborate within such a big network in Holland.
Yeah. And what do you think are more areas that need more attention right now, if you're talking about the Dutch fashion scene?
Well, for me personally, I do a lot with education partners. I really sense that there's still a lack of information sharing between different education. So there's you have several groups, and I think it's important that we really revalue the strength of all education partners. That when it comes to making, when it comes to design, when it comes to further development, when it comes to digital development, I think it's really important that we are a little bit more open towards each other and see where we can find each other and strengthen up each other, actually, in a sense.
Yeah.
So that's also why we invite from the HBOs, the MBOs, HBO, the bachelors, but also the masters and the lectoraten. We all have these partners already on board, and it's really necessary. Because who else? And how come you otherwise find each other? And who will facilitate these kind of bigger discussions? So this is a big role for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see other areas that need like?
Yeah, well, when we are heading towards a more circular economy, and also well, the need for more local production, more local sourcing is there. But there's still a lot to work on that field. Not everything we need to do things local are there, especially also in the educational part, because a lot of knowledge it's not there anymore in the Netherlands. So, but that's also a thing what Culture.Fashion is working on, so to map all the different kind of things that are there in the Netherlands, and then to connect those that need each other to get back that knowledge and back the making and the of fashion in the Netherlands. Yeah.
It seems like such a big task to have this like overview of everything that's happening and all the needs that there are. What's on the agenda of Culture.Fashion for the upcoming maybe 3 years? Or is that too far already? Make it half a year?
Step by step. But no, I think it's the continuous facilitating the dialogue continuously. So we talk a lot together, talking, and it's really important. And also, of course, really facilitating these online events and physical events in which we can really share knowledge and experience everyone's vision on specific things. We also invite for, during the program, or the first event actually it was, which we did in Arnhem, we invited different kind of work group session speakers and moderators to guide us also through. Because sometimes it's more easy to speak to someone who's really out of the box or from another discipline. And what also for us, what can we learn from other disciplines? You know, it's like we look anxious towards architecture and how it's structured, and or product design or whatever. And this is really important for us to learn. So it's not only going inside more in depth into the fashion and textile. No, it's really open, and let's see how we can learn from other creative disciplines.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And Culture.Fashion is an open network. How can people join the network?
Just by applying via the website Culture.Fashion.
Yeah.
And then, well, there you have, there you can apply. That's actually how easy it is, and it's, but it's, and then it's an open source way of working. So it's quite easy for everyone to get in, as long as you're doing something with the things we are aiming for. So either it's inclusivity in fashion, or more local production, or on the transition towards the circular economy and so on. So when you're in fashion and you're working on one of those kind of things, then you actually can apply for the network. And that's how easy it is, and it should be that easy. I think.
I think it should be easy too. And for the people at home who are watching and who are interested in joining this network, but maybe are still doubting the fact that they want to do this, 3 benefits.
Well, getting to know other people in the fashion industry within the Netherlands and showing yourself. I think that's always a good thing. Especially because everything is getting more local and regional. So I think it's good to have a network that's focusing on the Netherlands itself. Well, I think that are already kind of 3 in one.
But also that's what Sebastiaan explained. It's like a peer system, you know. So you can also select 3 of the organizations involved to review your application. So this is also that we really want to, it's quite a democratic model. And I think this is a big strength. And also that you can upload your own events, everything you do, you have on your mind, you can share it on the website. So it's also like a public space, you know? So,
after the break, we are broadcasting the Task Force fashion video that shows the results of the research project Residency for Responsible Fashion. Iris, now we have you on the table here. Can you tell a little bit more about Task Force Fashion and Film, which is not related to what we're just talking about, but you're here, so we can talk about it.
Well, in a sense it is, because the 3 partners who are the initiators of Task Force Fashion are also partners in the Culture.Fashion network. So in that respect it is, but now it's a different organization. It's a collaboration actually between FASHIONCLASH, Mode Foundation and State of Fashion. And we are also divided into Amsterdam, Arnhem and Maastricht. So it's also making this local interesting spread. So we work upon, actually our main goal is to reinvestigate the transforming role of fashion when it comes to sociocultural matters. That's actually our framework. And what we do is facilitating the experiment. So we ask around 15 designers every year to think with us and to think about what are the challenges of each municipality we work with. We always have a municipality partnering in the project on a yearly basis. So that's actually what we do, and then the investigation starts, the research starts. And for this year, so the movie you will see, we did it in Tilburg, in Rotterdam and Maastricht. And the findings of each group are represented in the movie you will see later on.
Okay, that's great. I think we're going to round up this conversation. Can you one more time repeat where people can sign up for Culture.Fashion?
Via,
Let's plug it.
So via Culture.Fashion. So that's the website actually.
Easy, Culture.Fashion. Okay, well, thank you for watching our fashion talks, and thank you to our guests, of course, Iris and Sebastiaan, for being here tonight and talking more about Culture.Fashion. And to all our viewers at home, of course, we want to hear from you. You can let us know what you think about the whole show via social media, and you can find Fashion Clash on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, the whole shebang, everywhere. We're all online. Stay tuned for our Task Force fashion video after the break, in which you can see the results of the research project. And the video is in Dutch, so if you're international, I'm sorry, you can't understand it, unfortunately. But anyway, enjoy, and we will be back later on with an amazing open mic night. Thank you for watching.